I knew I should have bought bamboo. What is up, YouTube? My name is Mark Plugavoy and welcome to my channel. On this channel, we create, inspire, and teach people around the world about photography and videography. So who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I? Who am I?
And why should you trust me in the first place? Well, I am a professional photographer, and no, not just because my Instagram grid is fire, which you should check out below, but I've been doing photography for about 8 years now. I've been published by National Geographic, Yahoo, and multiple wedding magazines throughout the years. So I'm here to impart a little bit of what I've learned along the way with buying my first professional camera and buying and using other cameras along the way. You're probably trying to upgrade from that iPhone or Samsung. Well, you've come to the right place because we're going to be talking about buying your first professional camera and standing out from the rest of the crowd. Let's go. I'm going to tell you 4 different things that you should focus on when buying your first professional camera. The very first thing that you should focus on is sensor size. There's different sensor sizes in different professional cameras. So there's 2 main types of sensor sizes that I'm going to be talking about, regardless of if you're looking at buying a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. And if you want me to do a complete video about the pros and cons of DSLRs versus mirrorless cameras, I can do an entire video on that. There's a lot to talk about. So leave a comment in the description below if you want me to do a video on that. So over the years, there's been many different types of image sensor sizes. There's been a micro four thirds. There's the image sensor that's inside of your iPhone camera, which is much smaller. You have APS-C, which is Advanced Photo System Type C sensors. You have full frame, which is slightly larger than that. And then you have medium format. You have large format after that. We're not going to be getting into those really high-end sensors because those are very expensive. So we're going to focus on APS-C style sensors and full frame sensors. The difference between APS-C and full frame is that APS-C has a crop factor of 1.6 or 1.5 times. What does this mean? Well, when you're taking a picture, your picture is going to be cropped by 1.5 times. If you're taking a picture of, let's say, a group of people with a full frame camera, it's much easier to get the entire group inside of the picture frame, versus if you have a crop sensor camera, then you have to take a few steps back or get a much wider lens for you to be able to actually get the entire group. So if you have a camera body that has an APS-C sensor inside of it and you put a 50mm lens on it, your field of view is actually going to be smaller than what a full frame camera body will get you with a 50mm lens. So it'll be like actually taking a picture with a 75mm lens, like medium telephoto instead. If you go for buying a camera with a full frame sensor, you're going to have to buy lenses that support full frame sensors. If you buy a lens that is made for an APS-C camera body, you could actually end up ruining your full frame camera body. Full frame bodies are, first of all, more expensive, and full frame lenses are more expensive as well. So is it bad to buy a cropped sensor camera? No, not necessarily. If you're into or interested in astrophotography, sports photography, nature photography with animal photography, you might want to buy an APS-C camera body because you can get pictures of things much farther away and much clearer or cropped in your images. But if you're interested in taking pictures of weddings or doing portrait photography or landscape photography where you really need wider angles and bigger field of views, then full frame camera is probably the better way to go. What does a bigger sensor give you though? Technically speaking, you actually get a better SNR with a full frame sensor. And what is SNR? It's the signal to noise ratio. A better signal to noise ratio means you have less noise in your image. This moves me on to number 2, which is ergonomics. This is so important when buying a camera. knowing that you'll be able to click the right buttons at the right time easily and very quickly is very important. That's why if you hear any reviews on new cameras that come out, they're usually talking about where buttons were shifted to or where they're placed on the camera body. How a camera body feels in your hands is one of the most important things about having a camera. Having a camera body with a button in a strange place allows you to be able to click that by accident when you're in the middle of something else. That is the last thing you want when you're shooting a professional event, when you're shooting a family session and you accidentally hit the shutter release button and your flash comes popping up. It's not a good place to be in. Trust me on that one. Another thing with ergonomics is make sure that you take a look at the grip on the camera body. If the grip is not that deep, it might be easier for the camera body to slip out of your hands when you're, running around or trying to capture that moment. So you want a camera body that has a good grip. So number 3 on my list is glass. Now, what do I mean by glass? Glass is lenses for a camera body. Lenses for a camera body are arguably more important than the actual camera body itself. Lenses can be very expensive, so it is important to look at the lineup of lenses and make sure that it's in your budget for the specific lens that you're looking at ordering when you buy your new camera body. Because some companies have cheaper lenses versus other companies, which leads me into my 4th and final point, which is price. If you can hardly afford your camera body, I'd say 95% of the time it's actually better to take a step back and buy a camera that's a little bit cheaper to use that extra money on a higher quality lens. Usually when you buy your first camera, it'll come with a kit lens, which isn't that good. You always want to upgrade to some sort of higher quality glass, so you want to make sure you have enough money set to the side to be able to purchase that glass. That's one thing that I really didn't know when I was purchasing my first camera. I was trying to max out my budget for the camera body when I totally skimped out on the lenses, and this is a horrible idea. Don't make my mistake, just trust me, because the higher quality glass you have at the front of your camera body will ultimately get you better pictures than if you have a really, really expensive camera body behind a really cheap set of glass. At the end of the day, you can have the most professional camera and the most expensive camera, but if the photographer doesn't know how to use it, then the pictures will most likely come out a lot worse than a camera body that's cheaper with a photographer that knows how to use that camera body. A cheaper camera as your first camera will be able to give you the opportunity to learn faster off the start and then start focusing on what's in front of the lens rather than what's behind it. You don't want to be spending all your time with the technicalities of a camera body right at the start. It'll make you lose your passion. So you don't want to be haggling around with all of the camera technicalities or what the body can do when you're just trying to learn what ISO and shutter speed and aperture really do and how to adjust those settings correctly in one environment. Because I believe the best camera body you can buy is the one that's not going to be lying on the shelf because it's too difficult to learn. There's many other things to consider when buying a camera body, but those are the main 4 things that I would look at. One more tip of advice that I can give you is if you've been researching cameras for a very long time now, I'm talking, a year or more, and you still haven't made up your mind, honestly, I would take what I've just said into account, do one more day of research or one more week of research, but don't hold out for too much longer. Go out there and buy it. Take that leap of faith, because you can do all the research you want, but once you actually have the camera body in your hands, that's when all the fun begins. So I would just suggest to go out there, take the leap of faith, and go buy your first camera. So that's it for today. If you learned something, smash that like button if you haven't yet. It'll really help the YouTube algorithm and help me get out there for more like-minded individuals like you and I. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. And don't forget to hit that bell notification icon for my next video, which is coming up very, very soon. You're not going to want to miss it, because with this YouTube channel, you're going to learn, you're going to get inspired, and you're going to go out there and take some awesome photos and videos that'll get you noticed and have everyone's jaws dropping. Till next time, have a blessed day. Peace.